It's been 7 hours and 15, no. It's been 1 week, no. It's been 4 years since I last did a Black Mirror analysis. I deleted my old project files because I didn't think I'd need them anymore. I started doing backgrounds of stuff, but because I didn't in the past, I'm keeping that, and it means I can wave my arm over here without it being weird. I'm also wearing glasses because I've made notes, and it's a lot easier to see notes when you've got your glasses on, strangely enough. But yeah, I'm back doing Black Mirror analyses, and it's weird. Some of them hit this season, I think, better than others, and we'll get, obviously, to the issues I have in time. But let us start with Season 6, Episode 1 of Black Mirror, Joan is Awful. First of all, the casting. Michael Cera, I feel, always plays Michael Cera. I don't know what he's like in real life, but so many of his characters are like this. Like the kind of nerdy, kind of a bit awkward. You know, it's very much his wheelhouse, and that's fine. If you have a wheelhouse, use it. It's great. We have Salma Hayek-Pinot credited or referred to in the show as just Salma Hayek, and I might do that for speed. 2 syllables does add up over time. But she is great here. There are probably some people who have only seen some of her more serious work, like the movie Frida she mentions, and all these kind of things, but I've seen enough, like both the projects she's done, but also stuff behind the scenes and things about her. She is a very cool person. She's fine with a lot of stuff. And to be honest, as an actor, think about it as a job. When you go in to do whatever job you do, you want to have as much fun as you can whilst doing it. You don't want it to be an absolute chore or slog and you're not enjoying it at all. Some of us, unfortunately, do have to do that, I know, but for the most part, you try and get the most enjoyment out of your work. Actors are the same. So she does stuff where she can have fun, she can do things that she's not done before, she can spread her wings, and she can actually come out to people who didn't know, like me, that she is actually dyslexic. I didn't realise, I did double check, and apparently, according to the sources I found at least, she is. She also apparently has combined ADHD, which means she's got the inattentive and the hyper. What a combo. I praise the fact that she's done so well with those. But yeah, she is up for a lot, and she shines in this. Her interaction with my other big hat tip, Annie Murphy, particularly in the scene together where they're talking about how they've both been screwed by Streambury. I loved it. Annie Murphy is one of those people who I've seen in things and gone, I can see potential here. Whilst it's mentioned in the show, Schitt's Creek, as, it's a great show, Amy and I bounced off it. It didn't appeal to us. We like characters we can feel something for. And they're too awful to like, but they're not in a way that we can actually enjoy hating them. And I know that's the purpose of the show. These are awful people for the most part, but it just didn't work for us. Some of the jokes were fine, but a few jokes over a few episodes is not enough to keep us engaged. But like I say, I did appreciate what she did in some of the moments, and it's nice to see her here and give us a new thing to associate her with that's much better. But so much here was great. I mean, there's 2 other casting things I need to talk about before I move on. I did say to Amy when we saw TV Mac, played by Ben Barnes, I was like, I'd be happy being played by Ben Barnes. I know he's not non-binary and stuff, but I'd be happy with it. I think most people would, especially, me to Ben Barnes. It's not a contest, let's be honest. But there is a moment that gave me pause, and there's something that happens in a couple of episodes that's a lighter version, I guess, but Wunmi Mosaku plays the TV version of the lawyer. Not a problem, fine. But she was also in Playtest as Katie. And Black Mirror's got this thing of, it's sort of connected in a lot of ways. I mean, Black Museum was one of those that really leaned into it, but there's a lot of things that do link up. There's a lot of references even in this episode that make it clear that there's a lot of stuff that is happening in the same realm, or could be. So having someone play, I mean, maybe Katie after the issues with Saito Gemu. I'm surprised I remembered that. I think that's right anyway. But with the issues there, maybe she became an actor and that's why she's in that. I don't know. it's a headcanon that makes it passable, but it did just take me out for a second because I was like, hold on, that's the same person, two roles. But with those references, I'm not going to go into them all here because people have collated them. To make sure that I had all the information I could, I did sort of have a quick look, trivia. I didn't look at reviews and stuff. I never like to do that. But for stuff like that, I was like, okay, what's been found? And I was like, oh, I didn't spot that. So I went back. But the ones that I did spot, I will talk about. And there's a couple of really interesting ones, actually. And I'm surprised no one else has picked up on them. One of the ones that's part of the DNA of Black Mirror now, ever since 15 Million Merits, is anyone who knows what love is will understand. It's such a long title for a song. But I literally heard 2 lines. It's in the scene where she visits Mac at the bar. And it's literally 2 lines. I was like, I know that song. I know that song. That's the Black Mirror song. I couldn't remember the title. But I loved it. I loved the fact that it was there. But the 2 that I spotted that I've never seen anywhere else, when Sandy, the fired employee, is in the bar with, I'm assuming, partner, could be just a close friend. I shouldn't make assumptions, should I? But, it's like, should we watch TV in the bar? There is a thumbnail, sort of bottom right on the screen. And that looks like, I've forgotten the person who plays, but she's known to me as Philomena Kunk. And if you're familiar with Charlie Brooker's work, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But there were 2 things done, Death to 2020 and Death to 2021. Narrated by Samuel L. Jackson. They were kind of like mockumentaries about how terrible the years were. And she plays someone in there, who's just like, oh yeah, talking about all the stuff that's gone on, the lockdowns and all that kind of stuff. But it looks like a screen from Death to 2021. It looks like the later one to me. And I want this to be confirmed somewhere. If anyone else has seen it and could go, yeah, definitely. Because I just spotted it. I was like, that's that. And it was, when I was watching it the second time, when I was looking for more detail. So yeah, it's one of those that it's not really a Black Mirror Easter egg, I guess, or whatever you might want to call it, but it's a general Charlie Brooker one, and that raises more questions now. But the other thing that I spotted was grains going out of fashion on the newspaper that she's reading, because if you remember, grains were from The Entire History of You, the recording thing that they can show to people. And that is very similar to a film that I want to talk about in the future. I recorded a while ago, this is where Black Mirror screwed my plans by suddenly dropping out of nowhere, a video for 1 hour photo. It will be out probably in the next 5-6 weeks, but in that I talk about wanting to do The Final Cut, another film with Robin Williams, which is very similar, people's lives being recorded and played back. It's just a strange little thing that just, maybe because I'm aware of that, it jumped out to me. But those are 2, like I said, I've not seen anyone mention. There's all, people have mentioned the Bandersnatch thing and all the, Callow Years shows. The fact that it teases next week's episode, or not next week's episode, it's not like that anymore, is it? But you can tell my age, can't you? But the next episode is teased, the Loch Henry thing. And, there's so many callbacks and things like that. But those 2 that I found on my own, gave me that little joy. But this episode, like Black Mirror always does have themes. Well, I say always. I'm not sure about some of the episodes that are coming up. But there's a few main themes here. And we have both the normal Black Mirror, thematic stuff like what if computer but bad, as the meme kind of goes. But we also have a deep philosophical one, and I want to talk about that a bit later. But the technological ones I think are very obvious, the reading your contracts or the T's and C's. How many of us just download an app and just go, yeah, scroll, hit, accept, whatever? And I know of someone, I've communicated with them a while back, who does sometimes write those kind of things, and occasionally puts little tests in to see if anyone actually reads them, including the people whose app it's going on to, because if they catch it, they'd probably go, oh no, we can't have that in there. But so far, no one, I think, has called him out on it. No one has found it. And I keep forgetting, to be honest. Whenever I've got a new app, I just go through, but I keep wanting to go through and just go, is this one of yours? I mean, you said, if you ever find one and you want to pass it to me and go, is this one of yours, I'll happily confirm or deny. So obviously that's a very key thing, because that drives the issue of this episode. But another core element of that is deepfakes. They are a terrifying thing. There are so many people out there who probably say little things that could be clipped. It's bad enough. There was a joke I was going to do in a video that I'm potentially still planning, and I've had to reword that moment because I realised that if I say the thing I'm going to say, that would be very bad. But you'll know in the future if that comes out. I'll make sure I reference it. But still, there's so much out there, But when you've got AI that can just put your head on someone else, and then AI voice, you may have heard about the presidents playing FPS, you know, and sort of trash talking. None of those presidents are making those videos. They're not involved at all. It's an AI using voice samples. And I first saw something like AI voice creation or replication a while back, and it terrified me, because I'm like, anyone could do anything there. I'm scared enough of saying the wrong thing accidentally in a video and that being taken out of context, but I don't even need to do that if people have a copy of, I mean, I'm not big enough, but I'm saying in the future anyone could do anything to screw you over, and that's terrifying. The other big technological thing is what I like to call the ambient recording conspiracy, whereby you may be talking about designer shoes and your phone's just sat on the table, maybe face down if you're one of those people who do that, and you don't think anything of it. Then you go online and all of a sudden you've got ads everywhere for designer shoes. Is something recording you? I have a theory that maybe sometimes, you know, like how in those chat assistant things, you know, you sort of chat to an advisor rather than like call them or anything like that, you do web chats, they can see what you're typing even if you delete it. So if you kind of put like, oh God, get on with it, and then you delete that, they will still see that. You don't have to hit enter. Not in all cases, I think, but in most. Maybe Google has that. You might have searched like designer, you might have started to search, you know, you typed in designer shoes, and you're like, actually no, I don't need to look at it now. But it's there. But that explanation doesn't work when it's just literally you've said something to friends and it's there. The explanation for that could be confirmation bias. Those ads were always there because it's a popular thing or something that's, you know, being pushed right now, and all of a sudden because you've talked about it, you're noticing it more. It happens a lot with a lot of stuff. That's just one example. But the other big thing from this episode is more philosophical. Towards the end, when the computer is being attacked, Joan, as it were, has a moment of, if I do this, that means Joan's already done it. Source Joan. It's not me doing it. She's done it. And that whole thing, like determinism and free will, is such a massive philosophical and, I will say, psychological. It does factor in, like the nature-nurture debate. But it is such a big thing, because you can start to explain it using one, but then you cycle into the other, and the cycle can continue. For example, in this situation, you know, like, if she does it, then it means Joan did it. But the fact that she's thinking about whether Joan did it means she's obviously got the free will to rationalize it, to think about it, to assess whether it's really her. But if Source Joan did it, then she has to do it. So it can't be her choice. But the fact that she's thinking about it, you see what I mean? You get into the cycle, and it's very hard sometimes to unknit yourself from a determinism free will debate. Sadly, it can be used in real world situations for people to rationalise acts they've done. Someone with no history of schizophrenia or similar conditions saying that the voices told them to do it, or God made me do it, or my horoscope said that that's what I was going to do today. There's so much out there that people can abuse and misuse to try and claim that it isn't their choice. It's determined, it's in the stars, or whatever it may be. And that's just like the worst case scenario, people getting out of crimes. I mean, people use things such as, well, you know, I'm quirky like that because I'm a Sagittarius or something, you know. We do minor things every day about this free will determinism. We don't even realise we're doing it because it's such a core part of the human query, I guess. You know, why are we here? What's our purpose? And this is when Black Mirror works really well, when it's combining the technological side of things, but also the philosophical. It doesn't always do it, and sometimes when it does it, it doesn't do it well, but I think this is a good marriage of the two. We have those deep technological fears that people associate with Black Mirror, you know, what if computer but evil, that whole thing. But we also have, it's not her choice, or is it? And I like the fact that Mona tries to make her feel guilt. Like, all that blood's on your hand. It's like, well, define blood, because there's the idea that we're in a simulation. If I kill someone, is that programmed, getting into the whole free will determinism, but also that's not really blood, that's ones and zeros, so it shouldn't matter. And that's again a whole rabbit hole you can go down and get yourself terrified. But like I say, it's what Black Mirror does well. It ties these things together. And as an opening to the new season, I like this a lot. There's so much good here. It's silly and fun. Like, Charlie Brooker is a very funny person. He does like writing humorous things a lot. But he can bring out some really weird ideas and get us to look at ourselves. It's called Black Mirror. I've said it, I know, in previous ones. I don't even have to go back and watch. I know I've said it. Black Mirror, dark reflection. It's there. And that's why I was so happy, even though it's messed with all my plans, I was so happy to talk about this and get back doing some Black Mirror analyses. I'm not going to end it quite yet because there are a couple of funny things that I do want to end on. Let's leave on the high, not the heavy. So, if you know basic Spanish insults, when they're talking about the computer, and Salma says computa, I'm not going to explain what that is. You can Google it yourself, but I love the wordplay. It's, again, a very Brookery thing. He's an intelligent man. Wordplay is his forte. But the other thing that maybe not everyone has seen, I mean, there's a couple of things related to this last bit. So we see the Joan version, or what we think of as the Joan version until we find out later, so the Annie version and the Salma version of the church scene. But Netflix has this thing that you'll probably know because you should be watching it legitimately on Netflix like I did. I don't condone piracy, except when it's against evil people. It'll do this thing of like, you know, it showed the mid-credits, fine, and then it was like, next episode. Now, we were watching it on a Fire Stick and it just went to it. I mean, we could have hit watch credits, but we didn't think there was a need because we thought that it wouldn't try jumping to the next episode if there was something else to see. However, when I was watching it again today, I went, let's watch credits because it'll give me time to finish typing up anything that I've not done completely because I felt rushed or I forgot to pause, you know, that kind of stuff. And then I was like, wait, there is a scene here. What is going on? And we actually see Source Joan in the church. So we've now seen all three versions of Joan that we spent time with in that church scene. But my final thought for today, and it's why I wanted to leave it with you because it'll be in your head. It'll be an earworm. But as soon as the Annie version walked into the church, I got one thing in my head. And if you're above a certain age, I'm sure you probably did as well. And I will tell you exactly what I wrote. Hey, Annie, you're so fine. You blow stuff from your behind. Hey, Annie. Now that's in your head. So until next time, as always, thank you for watching and take care.
I'm sorry.